problem statement.
Okay, so first, are you on the same page as me, or?
And the introduction page.
Okay, the introduction. I think in the introduction you don't really comment much about it, right?
I did what?
You didn't really comment a lot. You start straight away to the problem statement, right? Yeah, this one you said, yeah, this is what I understand, because one of the issues you said that one of the issues that I can imagine is that for some destination in non-Muslim countries, it could be interesting to offer halal accommodation as well, since the group of Muslim travelers and tourists is probably growing, and since Generation Z are the travelers of the future, it is relevant to learn how important halal facilities are for them. So, is that an answer, or is that something that I need to solve?
Well, how do you read it? What do you?
Because you put the question here, what issue? Okay, at the end of the section, I expect a clear formulated problem statement. What issue do you want to solve with this research? And then you mention it. One of the issues that you can imagine yourself.
You want to do? That's the question.
Yeah. This is relevant, but I don't understand. Like, is that something that you didn't find in my problem statement?
I have to read it. It was a while ago. There are two. And what I really want to see is, okay, what is the exact issue that this research is going to solve? And I think my imagination, and what I say right with in my imagination, I think that was your plan. Am I right there? This is what you want to find out. So basically, and if you make it very specific at the end, then you know all the way through, okay, this is where I'm focusing on.
But is that something yet that you didn't find in my problem statement? Is that right?
Well, maybe not specifically enough. It goes a little bit in different directions. You write about how the relationship with halal food and food safety and corona. Well, that's is in a way might be interesting, but it's not relevant for your research. You understand? This is not what your research is about. Your research is only about how those people feel about it or how important it is to them. And whether it's good or wrong or whatever you can feel about that type of tourism, that is basically not the issue of your research. Your problem is how do they feel about it, or how important is it for them to find halal elements in their decision making or something like that.
Okay, so you want me to be more specific in the problem statement, to state directly that, okay, this is the goal of my research.
Yeah.
What you meant?
Yeah, the problem that is the thing, the point of information that you want to get out of your research. And the problem is we don't know how important it is for young Muslims that there are halal facilities, or how big the impact of having those facilities is for them when making a decision for a destination or a hotel. So that's the problem. That is what we don't know. So this research wants to focus on.
Okay, I see. All right, I'll
focus there. Then hey, those are the foundations for your research objective, and to find it out, and your research questions, because that is the only thing this research is focusing on.
Okay, I see. And the second one, the one that you mentioned about no relation with Corona, I think there is, like maybe you were thinking that this about the slaughtering the animals. Well, at the same time, I want to deliver that the type of animals that you could consume, that's
Yeah,
related to the Corona thing, and halal is forbidding that you consume the like bats. There's some stupid animals that you have to eat, that you can consume.
yeah, but what is it that you want to say then? People are starting to enjoy the trust product, started to spread after Corona disease outbreak. It's more about that.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in the Netherlands, for example, there is no difference between cleanliness and guarantee for its cleanliness and the bacteria inside it between halal or non-halal. Everybody has to follow the same rules. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, but like if you're eating, like bats like this, and then do you think even though they're already clean in terms of, but do you think those bacteria is still is already gone or is still in there? That's the question. But it's okay. It's not really a big deal. I already take that off.
It's not what I want to
Mm,
say to you is your research is about how people feel about halal tourism, and how
mm,
important is it for them. But your research is not basically not about what halal tourism. Yes, obviously you have to explain
mm.
it a little bit, but from a research point of view, from a research, you don't have one should not have some opinion about it, whether it's good or bad or worse or whatever. This is the topic under investigation.
Okay.
And oh yeah, therefore consumption of bad pang. What did I write? My remark was about morely
Mm.
about the bacteria and the cleanliness and the safety. But therefore consumption. Therefore we don't eat bats either. I don't even know what pangolins are.
Okay, and also the next one, I think you mentioned about that you've made a remark about
Yeah,
this, that one can focus on how important is being halal for Muslim Generation Z in their decision making, and one can focus on what is the impact of being halal on the decision making of
yeah.
general. What do you mean by that?
And oh, somehow you write here you talk here about Generation Z,
Mm-hmm.
and the group you want to do your research among are
Mm-hmm.
Muslim Generation Z.
Yeah.
And you have to be specific there, otherwise people start thinking, hey, is this about Muslims or is it about all Generation Z people?
Oh, okay. So you mean that I have to mention specifically Muslim Generation Z?
Yeah, yes. Then
Okay.
research is sometimes very
Mm.
they read things very literally, and you have to be very specific in the way you write things. People read it that literally way almost.
Okay, I see. All right.
And even because the next sections you talk about Muslims and non-Muslim tourists again, then it makes it a little bit unclear where this one is
Mm.
going. And since you read on Gen Z Muslims, and it's very important to really be clear in your formulation every time.
Ah, okay. All right. I see. And the next one was the last paragraph for
Yeah.
this section. You say that, as
Posing,
you see it,
yeah,
yeah, it is merely because the country is applying the teachings and the laws based on that. I don't think this is this is right, because I mean a country like Thailand and Japan, they start to build that kind of thing even though their law is not based on the teachings, right?
Japan. But do
Mm-hmm.
they, the purpose of imposing to me
Mm-hmm.
refers that the government tells the companies you have to deliver tourism according to halal regulations. Imposing.
So what
What
other vocabulary that you have?
is it more offering? What do you mean? The offer had.
applying, maybe implementing. I don't know. Is that the word that?
What you want to say here? That if you have halal touristic facilities available or something, having them available to encourage business that are selling. Yeah, well, for Muslim majority countries, I think the law, isn't it? If you live in a Muslim country, your tourism is basically halal because that's the law in that country.
Yeah.
Imposing. You are talking about imposing it outside Muslim countries?
For
No.
both.
Yeah.
But maybe if I have to make it specific, then maybe to encourage the non-Muslim countries to applying this, because there's nothing to. I mean, you don't need to. You don't need to attract the Muslim majority countries to apply the same thing, because it's already in their rules.
Yeah, it's in their rules, so this is why I understand it. And basically, for money, yeah. Maybe we should leave the whole section out, then nothing gets lost. And ask yourself.
But I will lose my word count then.
Yeah, hey, you're a smart guy. You can fill up more. No, but
should I just paraphrase it?
Yeah, rephrase it.
Yeah, rephrase it. Sorry.
To attract both positives. Now, the purpose of offering halal touristic accommodations or facilities is basically to attract Muslim tourists to countries that are not Muslim oriented or something, not Islamic. Maybe that's what you want to say. I don't know. Okay. If I have a hotel here in Amsterdam, I should make sure that I have a halal package available for Muslim tourists, so they will choose my hotel. So is that what you're aiming at, or want to tell here?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically, actually, yeah, it's almost the same.
Yeah, and then is it more offering? Have some kind of service on offer for tourists, and then that specific service that you offer is targeted on Muslim tourists, because your offering is completely halal. And then you have to rephrase it in that direction.
It's more like offering, and also, and then the second sentence, instead of for many Muslim majority countries, should I put like for the non-Muslim countries? You know, this. I don't know, what should I?
Yeah, for many Muslim countries, this tourism is to encourage the development business that are selling halal within a tour. Yeah.
I don't need to change, right? Because that already exists, and they just need to develop.
To promote Islam with a combination of tolerance and peaceful development. Yeah, well, yeah. For me, it doesn't add too much, and it's not that relevant for you. Like that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will find a way how to. Maybe I could replace this with make a clear problem statement about the research itself, if this is not really relevant to the research. So because also in the research proposed, when I wrote about it would be beneficial to the general public to get the overview about the halal concept. You said this is worth pursuing, but it's not part of the research. So should I take that out, or?
Yeah, leave that out. That's This is it's not in the purpose of your thesis to show people what halal tourism is. Okay, you tell a little bit about it, but because it's a part of your research topic, but it's not the aim of this to learn more about halal tourism. A little bit is okay, but in your literature review, it should be a little bit about halal tourism and more about how people make decisions, because that's the decision making. That's what you basically do, researching, and whether it's choosing for halal tourism of what kind of car you buy or what kind of phone. The car, the phone, the halal is basically an element in your research, but the focus in how do they decide.
Okay. Also, you said that mine is exploratory research, not an explanatory, right?
Yeah, you want to find out instead of to prove.
Yeah, because after shifting from qualitative to quantitative, I didn't pay attention to those things, to exploratory, explanatory. Because the first purpose that we agreed on, it was explanatory, right? Because I'm going to visit this place and then, you know, doing the qualitative research, interviews and everything. So that was explanatory. But then when we straight away have to change it 180 degrees, then I'm not aware that it's supposed to be exploratory. So
yeah, and basically your research still is qualitative, but you use a quantitative data collection technique. You do questionnaires. Although you work with numbers, your research is basically qualitative in nature. You don't prove, you're not going to prove a hypothesis, you're not going to apply complex statistics, analyze it. You just focus on data and try to make sense of it. So it's more exploring. Hey, what does it learn? What might be going on in the outside world? And based on your data, you can tell this, or this.
Okay.
So in nature, it remains a qualitative type of research. But if you go to data collection, you use a questionnaire, and that leads in because it's closed questions, you can transform into data. So it becomes a quantitative type of data collection technique. And that's the difference.
Okay. I see. Right.
And still inductive. But I do miss the research questions and research objective in this section.
Which one?
Here in the introduction. They should be in the introduction.
But they have their own section, right? The research objective is in...
Why doesn't it scroll anymore?
Chapter 3 or something.
Yeah, but it should be in the introduction. After the problem statement, you go to the research objective, and in the research objective, you go to the research questions.
Okay. Right. And also in the research significance, because I wrote about for the theoretical benefit, this hope that this research could provide a recommendation on those destinations that applies halal tourism.
Where are you now? Sorry.
In 1.3. 1.3, second line.
Okay. 2.2, 1.3, research significance. The second remark for theoretical benefit, I hope. What did I write about that one?
You wrote about why they already offer all facilities, aren't they?
Yeah. If I'm not wrong here, I think if I had a hotel in Amsterdam, this research would be relevant for me, because hey, it learns me that if I offer that, I might have a bigger chance that a lot of Muslim people come to my hotel. But you're writing on those destinations that already apply halal tourism concepts. So they already, you know, so
I get you.
They're doing it already. So why is it relevant?
So what should I read? And then this is for
the hospitality industry in general. Something
not
like
to the destination.
and touristic destinations, yeah. For the hotel and tourism industry in general. And to the impact of offering halal services to tourists, how it stimulates tourists from Muslim countries to visit you, or something like that.
So can I say then, okay, it is this research could provide a recommendation on non-Muslim majority tourist destination.
Yeah,
is that
but
okay? Or?
You can do it in hospitality and tourism industry in general. Call it that. For the whole tour industry, it's relevant. And to know how important it is to offer services like that as well.
Okay.
And since Generation Z is the group of the future, they are the tourists of the future.
So provide recommendation on hospitality industry in general to what? To apply the halal tourism concept or what?
No, you don't advise. It's relevant because it gives information of how important halal elements are for future tourists, future Muslim tourists. And then it's up to them to decide, hey, I will choose those as my target market. So these are the things that I should offer in my hotel or should be available on my destination.
Okay, so maybe, okay, this is recommended, this would recommend the hospitality industry to be more aware of the needs of Muslim Generation Z. Would that make sense?
Well, for me, it's not even that. For me, it's if you know whether it's or not it's important for the Generation Z Muslims, then you know whether you should adapt your business to that if you want to focus on the target group. You might want to do a big investment in maybe an extra kitchen where you prepare halal food. But if it turns out that all the Generation Z Muslim don't care about, if that would turn out, why should you then invest in a kitchen? And that's why you do the information. And now we know these are the important things, so it's interesting to invest in that. I should have some kind of prayer room available or something, because that's what those tourists, those new generation Muslim tourists are looking for. If they see you have this available in your hotel or there is something available in the destination, then the chance that they will book your destination or hotel becomes a lot bigger. Just information where they can act on. And maybe in the recommendations you can say it formulated in terms of if you want to attract those tourists, then it's advised to do this, 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 and this.
So this is not to increase the awareness of their needs, but it's more like to give an additional offering, or is that what you meant?
Yeah, basically this, if you look at it from a business point of view, from a research point of view, the type of recommendation at the end is if you want to attract more Muslim Generation Z, these are the things you need to have available. Because these are the things that are important for those tourists. And that is the type of information that in the end would be the result of your research. Hey, if you have this, then people are more willingly to come than if you don't have that. And if you don't have this, then they won't even consider going there. And there are things that probably are necessary for them to come. And there are some things that might help them to come. And if things are not there, they won't come. And those elements, and there are things that make their decision to go there more likely and to help them. And that in my opinion, is the type of information in the end you can produce based on your research.
Okay. I see. And the last one, because I wrote about for the entrepreneur, and then you said leave only this practical implication since this is the only relevant one for your project. What do you mean?
I can't remember. Only this.
The last paragraph.
Okay.
The last sentence.
That was. This is basically what you want to do with your. This is what we just discussed. That this is the significance of your research. Saying, hey, these are the types of advice I will give. Inspire him to do those kinds of things in their product, according to make it more halal. That will help you to get more tourists. Hope the research.
Okay.
I'll leave that one out. Just don't change that.
All right. So, and then move on to literature review.
Yeah.
You said that add some text about Generation Z. So Generation Z in general, you mean, as a literature review?
It's the theory of generations. You can find something about it. You have the baby boomers, you have the Generation X and Y.
That's not the Generation Z in specific.
Well, that's the young people in your age group.
Yeah, but when you said about add some text about generation in general, not specifically Generation Z.
No, you have to explain what generations are. Just
okay.
two sections, and you find some source, and there's some writers, academic writers who wrote about it, and then you explain this generation is in this age group, and this generation is in this age group, and then you say you focus on Generation Z, the youngest one, because these are the tourists of the future, future tourists.
And yeah, for also if we move on to just one paragraph before 2.2, you said you missed something of a conclusion. In what sense?
You write a lot about tourism. And why do you write it?
Because that's the tourism in general, the concept of tourism.
Well, you specify all theories about tourism. You talk about the tourist movement, the origin, the transition, destination. You talk about tourist industry. You define the tourist, structure of the tourism, blah blah blah. A whole lot of text. So basically, you describe the whole thing about transit and origin, but basically, you are only focusing on the destination.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, why is it relevant for us to learn about all those types of theoretical, what tourism means? So
what do you expect from this section? You want me only to write about the facilities and the tourist activities, or?
Basically, your research is on the decision making of a certain group of people, to say it very generally.
Yeah.
One part is about the group of people. There's a little section about the generation. And then it's about decision making and measuring the importance of specific things of halal industry and halal tourism, and for that you have to specify in the end exactly what elements there are for halal tourism. And basically,
but I already explained that in the next section, right?
In the text section, a lot of things are going by, but some concluding completely at the end. So where you did you do that here? Consumer behavior.
Yeah, on the 2.3.
That's cool. Yeah, I see too. those. Well, somewhere can be controlled. What I do, I want to see a little bit more of references.
Okay.
Social factors, it should be full of them. That's what the literature is about. Conclusion, that's conclusion.
Also, you mentioned about that people can change and culture is not static.
Yeah. Am I right or not?
Well, something that is instilled in you that cannot be changed, I think.
I didn't. I saw it come by. Here it is. Well, if you find a source, if you can add a source there, then you can leave it there.
Okay.
And you make a statement there. And every time you make a statement, you should prove it, or you should basically put your source next to it.
So the problem is just the sources is not enough.
Just the source, and then you make a rather bold statement, and then make sure that you put your source for that. You probably read it somewhere, and then you have to put it in.
Okay. Then in 2.4 for the conclusion, it's just that on the last sentence, changing the perspective. That is not the one that you're expecting for. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about changing people's ideas, but just finding information that people can use to form their own ideas. Zero time from society by affecting the decision making by changing. Yeah, but you're not interested in changing the perspective of Generation Z consumers. You only want to know how they feel about it. And changing that makes me feel like, hey, I want them to be more Muslim or less Muslim or whatever. That's not what this research. This research is only about finding out how important it is for them. And you have to stick to that very closely, not going in different direction. The only thing I want to know, if something's there, would you go there or wouldn't you go there? If something's not there, wouldn't you not go there? And that is what should be very specific in your questionnaire as well. I need to find out how important having this thing available in your hotel or your destination is when you make your decision, not how important it is in normal life. No, you book a hotel, this is there, would you book, if this is not there, would you still go there? Or if this is not there, would you, and what are the crucial elements that should be there, and what are the elements that is better to have? The whole research is, in my opinion, if I understand correctly, having halal services available and how it impacts the decision making of those young Muslim tourists. How important is it? And it should be in the questionnaire as well, very closely linked. We have to be able to conclude based on the questions whether it is smart for a hotel to invest in certain things or not. Okay. And this would lead to more tourists, this wouldn't.
So which means that changes in trends and sufficient information provided about halal tourism could help to increase the awareness how important halal facilities is, or
mainstream media. It's not about changing a perspective.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm asking. Is it to increase their awareness about how important?
Not even awareness. And you don't want to change the consumer, but changes in trends and stuff, provided about a lot to itself. And this statement might be true, but it's not what your research is about. It's not that relevant in the context of your research. Your research is only focused on, if I book a hotel, how important is this element and how important is that element? And how do the young Muslims feel about that? And you have to keep very close to, and that's why it's so difficult that there are no research questions in front. Those are leading. Every time, everything you have to, when you write something, you go back to your research question. This is what it's all about. And we don't go, otherwise you drift off and start writing about all kinds of things and missing out the clue. And you have to have it.
So what is the right word then for this? If it's not changing the perspective, then not to increase awareness either, then what is the right word for it?
What is it, what you want to say then?
Yeah, that's I would like to say, because maybe to increase the awareness, because okay, they don't know anything about the, it's not that they don't know, but like when they're traveling, they're not really care about, halal tourism. But then when we give sufficient information, halal tourism is this, and then
but then again, you focus on changing the perception of the young Muslims. But that's something completely different. You don't want to make the Muslims more aware. No, you want to do research among to find out what hotels and touristic destinations should do. And that's a different. This is how I at least thought you were going. But now I might maybe that you try to change the attitude of young generation Muslims, but I'm not quite sure whether that's the right way to go here in an academic research, because then you start to be somebody who wants to convert people into more religious Muslims.
But so you mean that instead of changing the consumer, it's about changing the business orientation.
But who do you want to change?
Yeah, because I'm targeting the generations that Muslims, so there is an awareness that they are not. No, sorry, there is a concern that they are not. They're not really aware of this.
About what?
About halal tourism.
That young Muslims are not aware about that.
Yeah, that is one of the concern.
Yeah, but that's not the topic of your research.
Okay, so basically you mean don't change the consumer, but change the business, the way how the business operates. That's what you meant, right? That is in your perspective.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going. For the hotel industry, it's a growing business. There are more and more Muslim people, tourists as well, who want to visit hotels and touristic destinations all over the world. It might be interesting for the companies in the industry to find out how important certain aspects from halal, how important they are to those new tourists. So, and if we know that, you can invest in that if it's important. And that's a little bit the line of information. But this point is more about changing the perspective of the young Generation Z Muslims. And that's not, in my opinion, that's something completely different. And I think it would be better to stay away from it, because then you almost cross a line between doing research and becoming somebody who wants to convert people in more a story about how important and good the Islamic religion is, and that then you're not in the academic. It's not academic anymore, and then more a religious paper, and that's not what we got. We cannot accept those kinds of things. It should be academic and research oriented.
Okay, I see.
Apart what everyone might feel about which religion ever, that doesn't play any role here, but we have to keep away from that kind of discussions.
Okay, I see. And when you mentioned about the research objective, I missed the research objective you said in the introduction, and
the research questions, they should be
in the research question is in the third section, in the sub questions, and
1.1 problem statement, 1.2. I don't see it in 1 point. research significant, structure. Then you go to the review, section 2. And
Oh,
you
wait.
research questions, but you wrote something about research questions in your methodology section.
Yeah.
It should not be there. It should be in the introduction.
What, the sub-questions?
The questions and the sub-questions should be in the introduction. Yeah. Check it out online in the GA handbook. It's probably in there. That should be in the introduction.
Okay. Okay, I'll have a look on that. So we're done with it, and now chapter 3, research methodology. Okay.
Yeah.
I've read about deductive and inductive. Maybe I misunderstood on that. And you said it should be inductive instead of deductive.
Yeah.
But
if you
I thought inductive is for the qualitative.
Yeah, but you're doing qualitative type of research.
But I'm doing quantitative.
No, you do a quantitative data collection technique. You use quantified data and you analyze it.
Yeah.
Basically, your research is inductive in nature. You want to try to find something out. You're exploring, you're try to develop new information instead of testing theory. And if you test theory, then it's deductive. You formulate this is a relationship, and then you test using statistics whether the relationship is true or false. The hypothesis is true or false. But what you are doing is, hey, we want to find out what's going on there. So we do a more inductive way of research, and based on what you find in your data, you can say, hey, this is more. My data show that this is more important than that. So that's mainly inductive, explorative type of research, and in nature, qualitative.
Okay. So you mean, wait, so my research is quantitative, right?
Your data collection is quantitative. You use a quantitative data collection technique. And the question,
what's the difference?
Huh?
And what's the difference?
That is that when you collect data, your information, it's not words, but it's numbers, basically.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's quantitative data collection.
Yeah.
But the nature of your research is not that quantitative, because you're not going to use statistics to test relationships. You might use some kind of statistics like mean or the mode of those kinds of things to see how data are there. But basically what you do is to describe the data you got, and you don't test. And you describe how many people feel this is important, or how important they those kinds of things. So you do descript basically, and that is in basic, that's a qualitative type of research, because you don't come to quantitative, how do you call it, to hypothesis, and you don't test hypothesis. And quantitative research, you come up with some kind of a theory, then you formulate a hypothesis based on that theory, and then you test those hypotheses by using statistics. And that is basically quantitative research. There are all kinds of requirements then on sample size, on how you draw your sample. And if you do more qualitative, that's better for you, because then you can use some kind of self-selection service. Self-select, what you basically did by putting it online. And you can get away with it, so you can use the non-probabilistic sampling techniques. And you don't bother about the sample size.
So again, in this approach, that actually I'm doing an inductive.
Yeah.
And by nature, it's a qualitative research.
Yeah. Interpretivistic, maybe even realistic.
I thought qualitative nature of qualitative research is definitely, it's already a qualitative.
Yeah, use qualitative, explorative, and inductive, then you covered it. And I don't mind so much about the philosophical things. It's way too complicated for bachelor students.
And for the second paragraph in the same section, I wrote about there are still needs to be examined whether different generation accepting it. Then you say if you want to do that, you need respondents from all generation and use statistics to establish whether there are differences or not. So should I take that out or?
Let's read it for me. Explain. What did I write here? Again, you're exploring, yeah. A lot of that is explanation. There are still needs to be examined with a different generation. Yeah, but you're only focusing on one generation.
Yeah.
And here you say you need to be examined. What is it? I hate research approach. Choosing the blah, 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 blah. Even though there are many. Even though there are many. Godsamme. I hate this Turnitin feedback tool. Where am I now? I'm not even on which page I am. I still have to go up. Yeah. Oh. You know there are many. Where is that? I don't understand. Actually, I don't understand this sentence. If you want to do that, obviously you're only focusing on one generation, so it doesn't matter. You should not mention the other generation, but I don't even know where this is going to.
Okay, so should I just take that off?
Maybe.
Okay. And research methods. Okay, now this is where the confusion is arise. You said that by nature my research is qualitative, but by research methods is quantitative. Am I right?
Your data collection technique, yeah. In the method, the methods. One of your methods is how do I collect data, and that one is you do a quantitative data collection technique, but because you're doing a qualitative type of research, you can use non-probability sampling techniques.
Because I'm doing quantitative data collection technique.
Now you do a quantitative type of thing, you still can say, hey, I aim to have at least 100 respondents or something. Yeah. Sample size has been determined to 100. So there you basically say, this is what I want to have. But you don't need to worry about minimum size.
No, because the thing is that you wrote in the purposive sampling that I am following a qualitative, inductive, and exploratory. Okay, with the exploratory, it's no problem. Inductive, no problem. But you said I'm following a qualitative. Yeah. So which means that in the research method, should I change into a qualitative research instead of quantitative?
No, you still you have to distinguish between methodology and methods. Methodology is how the bigger picture of your research. Methods are the types of things you apply when doing your research. And in this case, you apply for data collection a questionnaire, a closed question questionnaire, and that leads to quantitative data because all the questions are coded into numbers. And because of that, they call that a quantitative data collection technique. But it's something else than the quantitative research approach.
Okay, so which means that the quantitative research section in the research methods is no problem.
You can mention that you use a closed question questionnaire for data collection, and you don't even need to mention that it's quantitative because everybody who reads that knows that here are the numbers coming. So
you mean should I take that off too?
To go back upstairs. Research techniques, research approach, methods. I should leave the heading quantitative research And basically, if I look at what you write under quantitative research, it is something that deals with methodology instead of methods. And the methodology, quantitative research, connecting two relevant through the use of statistical, and that's just what I told you before. Quantitative research is all to focus on test relationship, test theories, and there's a different approach for research.
Okay, I see. But with the web survey and purposive sampling, it's fine.
That's okay. Purposive because you want them to be Muslim, and it is some kind of self-selection as well. You put it online.
Yeah.
And there's one. Desk research. What did you do desk research for?
For the
for the literature.
Yeah, for the literature review.
And then the whole questions and sub-questions should be in the introduction.
Okay. And no, but you said that for the sub-question 1.
What
is 1 over aching main research question needs to be formulated as well? What do you mean?
I say something. There's the text. Come on. What I say is you have a main research question, and underneath those there are some sub-questions, and all the sub-questions together give you an answer on the main research question. And
that should be in one section in the research objective in part 1, in chapter 1.
That should be in chapter 1, and you should formulate a research question without having too much text in between. Maybe if you go to the library section of the Wittenberg online area, if you scroll all the way down, you can find some examples of bachelor and thesis. You can have a look how they did it.
But most of them are already old dated. 2016, 2015.
Yeah, the structure is still the same. And you can look for the new ones. And the way of doing research has not been changed so much over time.
All right, I see. So in terms of structure, nothing changed.
Yeah, I just follow those. Yeah, try to look at some of them, and you get a feeling what is expected, because all those theses had a pass in the end. They are done. And then you see a little bit about the structure of the main question and the sub-questions.
Okay, all right. And for the next one, you said sub-question 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, for sub-question 2 and 3, you use the same method. So describe how you proceed both sub-questions in one text section.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean is...
Yeah, but it's going to be too much if I put in one section.
No, what we're going to see is that in the introduction, we will learn about your research question in chapter 1. And in your case, the data collection technique, the questionnaire, gives you the data to answer all the questions. That's what I mean. And sometimes people have to do more different types of research to get all the questions done. And sometimes they need a question. They have a sub question that needs to be answered by, for example, doing an interview with the management of a company. And the second sub-question should be answered by doing a questionnaire among, for example, the guests of the hotel. And in that type of research, you do 2 different methods to get both sub-question answered. But in your case, both sub-questions are answered based on one method, the questionnaire. So you can do in your method section, explain that both sub-questions are answered by one method.
Yeah, but I did that, right? I mentioned it in the method section.
Sample size.
So you mean, I don't get it. So sub-question 2 and 3, I should put it in the one together, or?
No, in chapter 1, you have a main question, and you formulate a main question, and right underneath it, you formulate your sub-question. Boom. This is what your research is about. These are the leading things for the whole, all the steps that are coming.
And this,
Methods,
all the explanation.
Excuse me?
And all this explanation under the sub-questions, what should I do with it?
The sub-questions are the questions you want to ask. I don't know why.
No, the explanation below the sub-question, because sub-question and then I put explanation under it. Should I?
Disk research. Well. What you described there is the methods and methodological part. So that should be in your method section.
And 3.3 in the techniques.
Yeah, and in sub-question 1. Yeah, but you, if you look at sub-question 1, you basically already give the outcome here. And here you get an overview: accommodation, food and beverage, facilities, point of attraction, some activity. These are that is some kind of a conclusion. And these sources mention the following important elements, and that is the type of conclusion that you should draw at the end of your discussion about halal tourism in the research, in the literature section. And then you know, okay, I have to ask about accommodation, about food and beverage, about facilities.
Okay. So, and then the explanation on sub-question 2 and 3 should be in the research techniques alone. That's what you meant.
You do the same technique, so you just describe which techniques you follow to answer, to get the answers on sub-questions 1 and 2 and 3, or 2. Yeah.
Okay, but the sub-question itself should be separated from the explanation of the techniques of conducting the. Describe
the techniques in the methods section, and formulate the research questions and sub-questions in the introduction.
Wait, I'm lost. You said in the method section or in the methodology section?
In the methods section. In methodology, you only describe qualitative, inductive, and explore.
So how about in the research techniques then? What should I write?
Yeah, methods, that are the techniques. There you explain, this is how I draw the sample, this is how I looked for my population, this is how I collected the data. And what you do is you use one data collection technique, the questionnaire, and you use that method for having solving both research questions. And then you describe how many you want to select and how you did select them.
Okay, okay. The next one, if you look at the second paragraph of sub-question 2, you said you thought it should be over 300. What do you mean?
Well, you somewhere you made some kind of calculation.
Yeah.
So make it either the sample size is determined on 100 respondents, or mention the number. It shows that a minimum of 385 was needed.
Yeah.
You use that kind of calculation if you do a hardcore quantitative data hypothesis testing research. But you are in the qualitative line of research, so you don't need that minimum number.
So that's why when it's determined to 100 respondents, it's no problem, right?
Yeah, it's okay. 100 is
okay.
And if you got more, it's better. But 100 is a decent number to work with. And the whole thing's about margins of error and confidence level doesn't go for this type of research either, unless you want to use statistics. but I
So
don't.
this is not relevant. So you meant that this all, the margin of error, the confidence level, these all irrelevant to my research.
Yeah, because you don't do positivistic, the hypothesis testing research. You're not doing
Yeah.
that. You're more exploring, and then the guidelines for doing drawing samples is less difficult, less. There are less requirements than when you do the hypothesis. So you don't need to do that calculation, and you don't need to think in terms of confidence levels and margins of error.
Okay, this is really quite confusing actually, because I was thinking that quantitative research, it is quantitative techniques and so on, and the qualitative research, qualitative techniques. I didn't know that it's two separate things.
Yeah, I know that is confusing a bit.
Yeah. And on the last paragraph, just one above the sub-question 3, you were asking why is this relevant? It is relevant because I mentioned that the population below 30 years old make up 60% of the Muslim population. So which means that there are potential of huge amount of Generation Z, of Muslims Generation Z. That's why I mentioned it in there.
Oh, that's okay. But I don't read anything about the young population. Yeah. Oh, here I read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this is maybe something we discussed that you should add some kind of paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
This would maybe even something for the introduction, and this is why you focus on Generation Z, because it's 60% of the total population. In 13 years, this group is 60% of the population. In the introduction, you write a little bit about halal tourism and the Generation Z, and then here you explain why Generation Z, because it's in the next years, it's the biggest part of the population. Because here, in this section, you are here in the methods section, you describe how you draw from your sample, how you do your sampling. And earlier on in your report, you define what your population is and why you choose that as a population. And in your case, Generation Z is your population, the Muslim Generation Z. And this is a statement that shows how relevant it is to focus on that generation, because it's an important group for the future. So that you can mention a little bit earlier in your research. You can mention it in your literature review when you write a little bit about generations, or even in your introduction where you say you add this one generation heading Gen Z, and then add this paragraph section there to show how important it, and with that you show how important it is to focus on that group. But and here it's a little bit out of place, because here you only describe what you actually did in the methods point of view, and this is more a decision you made earlier in your research. Hey, this is what I'm focusing on.
Okay, all right. Okay, and I think in the third one, the sub-question 3 about the push and pull factors.
The connection. And what is with that? Yeah.
No, I don't think you made a comment on that, right?
No. I don't know why. I did read it, I guess.
Yeah, no, but you've made it in the chapter 4.
Okay.
So in the chapter 4, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. Really. Did I make
the first one? The first one, the important, you said that you're asking a kind of in general question. what do they think in general is important for a halal destination? Is that something wrong, or?
To find out. Can't remember your results. Did I even look at your results yet? Sub question 2, blijf staan.
In chapter 4.
Yeah, I had some to go to the questionnaire, I guess. Where is it here? Age, location level, travel, purpose, continents, these elements. Yeah, I'm still struggling with your results and I'm a little bit with your questionnaire.
Why? What is wrong with it?
Well, you asked whether things are important for them. Yeah, obviously you're a Muslim, so those things are important. But I still can't find out whether they would go or would not go if things are there or aren't there.
No, I think you misunderstand with the push factor. The push factor, if you refer back to the article, it says that it's not what pushed them away. It's more like what really pushed them to go to that place. And pull factor is what attract them. So basically, push factor is more like, okay, you are doing, you are tired of doing the routinity, and then you are being pushed to go on a holiday. That's what it says in the article. Pull factors is what attracts you to go there. For example, like, okay, you want to go to Europe during the winter because you want to see snow, for example, or you want to go to Spain right now because you want to feel the summer. So yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm just referring to the article.
Okay, where?
Yeah. So that's why in there I put the purpose of traveling, because what really pushed them to visit, to go on traveling in general.
I made a remark there. What did I say there? Yeah, okay. But I can see that I did not go through all your results yet, or there are not too many still. I have to do that in the end.
So if you scroll up on the first 3 paragraphs, especially the question about the importance of halal tourism element, you've made a comment also in there.
Where is it?
In the chapter 4, the first 3 paragraphs.
First paragraph.
Yeah, sorry, the third one. It was after the section of importance of halal tourism element.
Lifestyle, Travel preferences. Am I too far already? Push factors. Pull factors. I'm too far. Primary research findings. Where is it ending? Importance of halal tourism elements.
Yeah, you said that you're asking a kind of in general question. What do they think in general is important for a halal destination? What's wrong with my first sentence?
Well, for me, it's sometimes the whole focus is to see how important they are for making a decision to book something or not. And I can imagine a lot of Muslim people want to visit, for example, America.
Yeah.
America is not, or Europe for my part. They're non-Muslim countries. So they go to an area where halal might be there, might not be there. And what I would love to know is, looking at all those elements, up to what level would it influence the decision making? And now your question is, how important is it for you?
Yeah.
Obviously, for a Muslim, those things are important, and the scores are high. Well, Islamic banking is just above 2.5, but in general, I can imagine that people are really focused on having halal food and drinks and having prayer facilities, because that's why you're a Muslim. You really need that in your life, so it's important to you. But it's not just about how important it is, but how big the impact is of those things on their decision making for a certain destination or a certain hotel. And, the fact that it is very important to them, you can't draw the conclusion that if you don't have it in your destination, they would not come. You see the slight difference there?
Yeah.
And now you can only tell, hey, these are important things. But if these have an impact on the decision making, that's not completely clear yet, but these are important things. And now these are that you can come to that type of conclusions, and not whether it has an impact on their decision making.
Okay, I see what you meant.
That's the stupid thing about research. They are very, very specific.
So you mean that should I conduct a new research, or?
Yeah, I don't know whether the other way is, or you change your research question a little bit in a way that you can answer the question, and that you look at what data do I have, and based on that, modify your research objective and research questions a little bit, so it's aligned with what you can do based on your questionnaire.
Well, that means I have to rechange all the explanations on the research techniques, or not?
Yeah, well, the issue is how important are research aspects in life? Obviously, how important are during your stay? Visiting museum, hey, stop for praying, nightlife. I wonder what the answer on that one is. Can I find it?
Oh, I didn't mention it here?
What?
About that? About the nightlife and the thing?
Maybe I noticed that I don't have any remarks in your research section yet, so that tells me that I haven't been there completely through yet. And for example, on the last page, you give a table that the results of the research was that how would you be interested in visiting a destination that applies halal tourism? And 44% say yes. And then you conclude that there is a strong desire to visit destinations, but you can't conclude that. You only can conclude that they would be interested in this and not having a desire.
What the difference?
Well, strong desire is that they really want to go there. I want to go to that destination. But if it's an interest, and when you describe let's put it this way, when you describe the results of your questionnaire, you should stick to the wording you've used in your questionnaire, because that's the question that people answered. If you would have formulated your question by using a strong desire, you might have had slightly different answers. And so stick to the words you have used in your questionnaire.
Okay, I get you. All right then.
And I see I have to go through your results section, but I haven't seen that yet. Not really good.
So when are we gonna meet again?
Yeah,
in September?
Yeah, probably. We have 4 weeks in September. That's more than enough.
Yeah.
End of August, somewhere there. Maybe we should aim at week 1 or something from the next block.
Okay. But should I start to write the conclusion and recommendation, or I do that after we met in the September?
Well, if what you can do, it's easier to get things out than have to write new things afterwards.
Okay.
And do check out some of the examples.
Yeah.
And so.
All right then. I'll see you in September.
Yep. I'm at school from about 24 August on. I'll probably be online again, so then we can start planning a meeting.
In school or in Skype?
In Skype. I guess in Skype. If I look what's happening in the Netherlands with Corona, I'm not that positive.
Okay. All right then.
And the trip for next week, and I'm still not quite sure whether we're able to